welcome to the On the Line podcast. I'm your host, Matt, as always. Sadly, Chris can't be with us today. He has got some prior engagements, but he has asked me to wish his best to the rest of you. Now, on the show today, we have the current national champions of dual line with a combination of over 28 titles, 24 years of combined flying experience, and an average age of just 19. I'm also reliably informed that they are the sexiest team in kiting, although I'll let you make your own decisions on that. We have, I'm very excited to say, Team Fracture. Welcome, boys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
So before we carry on, let's just introduce you all individually. So Dan, you start.
I'm Daniel. Been flying kites for Fracture from its start, although I've been flying kites for longer than that, for almost 14 years now. I'm 17. It's great to be here with you on the podcast today.
Fantastic. Harry?
Hi, so yeah, I'm Harry, the newest member of the team. Also the oldest and the most bald, but fairly new to flying kites, but picking it up slowly as I go along and catching the other two up quite quickly.
Good. And last but by no means least, Josh.
I'm Josh. I'm the founder of the team. I've been flying kites for 10 years. I'm the second least bald, and yeah, loving flying in this team.
Fantastic. Now, we have already obviously had Josh on the show previously, but that was in a completely different guise. We are totally focused on the team today. So you're a nationally based team, and you come from all over. You're spread all over the country. Dan, you're in Bedford?
Yeah, I'm just outside Bedford.
So, Harry, remind me,
I was in Surrey when I first joined. Recently moved back down to Hastings, so about as far south as I can get.
And Josh, we know that you're up in the north.
I'm up in the northeast, yes. The furthest away from both of these lads.
Okay, so how do you guys manage being so far apart geographically, managing to get practice in?
I think the short answer to that is I do a lot of driving.
Okay, yeah. And in terms of organisation, who calls the shots? Who says, right, we're practicing this time, this date, or is it a team decision?
It's a team decision. We decide as a team which days we can do, and then mostly we meet up at my house as the central house and spend 2 days just drilling through stuff.
Yeah, and I think the other reason we tend to sort of focus on Dan's house is there's good space for us both all to sleep there, and it's the most convenient because Josh and I both drive and he doesn't yet.
And it's also closest to the best flying place in the UK, which of course is Dunstable Downs.
I would definitely second that. Okay, so in terms of experience, Harry, you said you're relatively new to flying kites. So what's your kite history?
So I am James Robert Shaw's stepson, and so sort of followed him around for the majority of my childhood. Didn't really get too involved with the flying side of things. I did quite a bit of four line, but never any demos. Really didn't do much two line, and then stopped altogether in 2012. So picked it up again. I think I started with these guys in September 2019, and it's been a pretty steep. So we're now focusing mostly on two line. Done very little four, but trying to get all the basic technical side of things nailed.
Fantastic. Dan, what's your flying history?
My flying history is quite long. I was born into a kite family. My dad was world champion twice with a team called Skydance in the 90s. So I was born into a kite family, grew up around kites. My first display was age 3 at Peterborough Kite Festival in the rain. And ever since then, I've been flying all over the world with the Flying Squad and now with Fracture, which with Josh, we started just after the last World Cup in 2018.
And Josh, we touched a little bit on your previous kite history, but that was not so much from the competitive point of view. So fill us in on the competitive side of your flying.
I started competition flying 5 years ago now. I flew individual quad line, individual dual line, and pairs quad line. I remember I won individual and pairs the first time I competed. So from there, I kind of got this addiction to competing, and it's never stopped since. The first year of competing, I went to Eurocup for the first time. And then in 2018, I went to Burke and saw the World Championships, and I was like, no, this is crazily insane. I have to start a kite team. And from there, I spoke to Dan about flying team and a few others. And yeah, we piled in, and now Fracture is the birth child of that kind of crazy idea, really.
Okay, so we'll start in the same order again with Harry. I'd love to know what your first kite memory is.
I think my first kite memory, it would have been, God, when would it have been? Sort of probably 2004 time. I think Dan would have been 1. It was Brighton Kite Festival. My mum had brought me along. I think I'd only met James once, just very briefly, because they just started dating. We turned up at Brighton, and I didn't know James had a brother. Confidently walked up to Carl and said hi. I mistook them. They were quite similar.
That's crazy. That's almost like you're kiting royalty right there. What a memory! What a first memory to have involving the Robertshaws. I think that's that's pretty up there. Now, Dan, you're actually from a kiting family. It's wall-to-wall kites. Can you
quite literally?
Can you pick out your first kiting memory?
It's hard to pick out the first one because it's all medals into one. But I think one of my first memories is learning to fly quadline kites in the rain with a few European champions as ground crew, and fly up. The kite would crash, and then they stand up for me and just keep doing that again. With Hakuna, did that kite's really cheap kite, but that's one of my first kiting memories is flying in the rain.
Awesome. Okay, now I think I already know the answer to the next question for all three of you, and I hope I don't put the cat amongst the pigeons. But if you could only fly one discipline for the rest of time, okay, what would it be? Would you stick to your current competitive discipline, or I know all three of you are exceptionally talented when it comes to quad line. Which would it be? I mean, you can obviously pick single line if you so wish. But yeah, I'd love to know for the rest of the time, which discipline would it be? Starting with Harry.
For me, I think I would probably stick with dual line team, purely because I am quite competitive and there's no world championship for 4-line. I really want to win at the top level, and currently 2-line is the way to achieve that. Obviously with these two.
That is definitely the right answer, Harry. That is definitely the right team answer. Okay, Dan, come on. I know this is a big choice for you, putting you on the spot.
It's a tough choice.
No pressure, but you get this wrong and you're off the team.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make any friends, but I would choose quad team. For me, it's more fun. It's much more sociable. You get to have a chat while you're flying, stand. It's easier. And it's my first one. And yeah, it's my favourite to do is with the quad team.
Harry, should we have a vote now? I vote out.
Well, I'm thinking based on my answer, and that if Dan focuses only on 4, that compromises my winning. Matt, are you free?
Oh, yeah, I keep my schedule open for such an occasion. Now, I had an inkling that Dan might pick quad. I have to be honest, having seen him out in the field, and his love for a certain brand of kite, which I'm sure we'll hear about later on. Come on, Josh. I think I know the answer. I think I can predict the answer, but you might as well just confirm it for everyone else out there listening.
It's got to be dual line team. I made it very, very clear to myself a few years ago that flying team has got a rush to it that flying by yourself just doesn't have. And quad line team's fun, but I love the drama involved in dual line team. You know, and it's a different ball game. You know, you're strongly focused on every little minutia of what you're doing, and that to me is that's Red Bull to the system.
Okay, well, I'm going to make Dan feel a little bit better, and I know I'm not being interviewed, but if it were me and I had to choose one discipline, then I would pick quad, for very similar reasons. Very social, very relaxed, very chilled out, but yeah, you know, dual line very close second. So now this is going to be a really difficult question. If you could only fly one kite for the rest of time, what would that kite be?
You're going to split the team up.
I think I might upset Mr. Kite Tech there at the moment, but for me, it's got to be a Fury. Aerosoft Fury is great fun, and that's what I've done most of my flying on. So
now, I am going to make you choose whether you go for a standard, an ultralight, or a vented.
For me, the ultralight is the most fun. It is the least draining, but you've still got the same shape, so you can still do all the axles and whatever else that the standard can do. It just pulls a bit less. It's a bit easier.
Yeah, and I mean, you can always replace the frame when you take it out in 20-mile-an-hour winds. You know, sail should still be good, maybe.
Yeah, well, I actually I got it a bit wrong today. I popped out to do my 1 hour's exercise, but didn't take all my kites with me. I managed to fly a standard invented wind with ultralight spreaders. It didn't go well.
You're going to have the exercise police on your back now for saying, "Oh, naughty, naughty, flying kites." But listen, if you can get out there and do it, then bloody well do it. It's exercise for the mind. Okay, Dan, come on, lay it on us. What's your one and only kite for the rest of the time?
This is a really tough question. I love flying lots of different kites in one day. I can't just fly one kite a day. I would go a standard. I know that for sure, because you can go a bit above and it pull a bit more, or you can work a bit less if the wind's a bit low. So I've got more chance to fly. It's about which standard I'd have. It's a tough question. I love flying quads. I feel like they're more, I don't know, versatile almost. You fly lots of different styles. It's like, which one? Because there's so many now you can choose from. I'm loving seeing new things with the fulcrum and seeing what that can do. But also, I love personally flying a detox. So I think I'll probably go for a standard detox personally, just as a fun kite to fly.
Nice. Good choice. Very good choice. A lot of love for Carl out there, with the fulcrum and the Fury getting the mention. Josh, I'm really interested to see what your kite for the rest of time is going to be, if you can split the difference and decide.
That's a horrible question to ask me.
It's absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible, but I make no apologies.
Do you know what? I think for me, and I think a lot of people will understand this, it's unfair to say that I would fly anybody else's kite from my own, but I wouldn't fly one of my own, because I think the kite which deserves to fly for the rest of the time, regardless of what happens, is the North Shore Radical, because it's underpinned everything behind dual line team flying, and I think that's the kite that I would fly for the rest of the time if I could only ever fly one more.
Nice. For the record, mine would be a standard Pulse, but go Team Kite Tech.
Thank you.
Just a bit of brown nosing there, Okay, this is an interesting one. What is a common myth you would like to get rid of in the world of kiting?
For me, that it's not demanding physically. Yes, there are ways to make it less demanding, but when you're flying team and you're drilling for the full day, you come back and you are really aching. But when you show people the video of, oh yeah, I fly kites at the weekend, the initial response is obviously that, well, yeah, you just stand there.
Well, I would definitely go along with it being physically demanding. I get out of breath walking from the car park, so I definitely that's going in there for sure. Dan?
I think a myth that I find gets me a lot is when you say to people you fly kites, they assume it's a kids play thing. They are, yeah, you fly kites. It's cute, isn't it? It's a little diamond shape and the long rainbow tails. But sometimes I think people need to understand that kites can be a serious thing. That it's a thing for grown-ups sometimes.
But Dan, you love your rainbow tails.
I do love a tail. It's true.
I think that's a good one. A lot of times when you tell your peers that you can't wait to fly your kite at the weekend, you do get some funny looks, and I would definitely like to see that disappear, because it's a way of life more than anything. It's a bug. You get bitten by it. So yes, it's there for everyone of all ages. So yeah, no, good shout, Josh.
A myth that I would get rid of is the very, very obvious, it needs to be blowing a gale to fly a kite, because I hate flying a kite in strong wind. I prefer really low wind, and get rid of that straight away. Put it in the bin.
Yeah, that's in the bin, 100%. And I'm going to just chuck mine in, which is running. You don't have to run. You don't have to run with your kite. I mean, yes, I've seen, you can move quicker, but the amount of times I see kids and adults with those single line jobbies and off they go, just run. Same.
You're not into 360s?
All right, okay. Yeah, enough. Okay, yeah, moving on. Okay, how would you introduce others to kites? Someone that is not part of the sport, they're from a completely different walk of life. How would you give them their sort of first experience, or recommend their first thing to try to get into kiting and perhaps get bitten by the bug?
The first thing I would suggest is to go to a festival. You don't quite understand it just flying on your own in a field until you've seen firstly the reaction it gets from the crowds, but also when you start interacting with all the people who are around you and all the other flyers and the families. That's when you start to understand what kite flying is all about. Yes, it's about the flying, but also there's a huge social side of it. And then obviously you'd give them a fury and say, off you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Dan, how would you bring people to the sport?
To bring people to the sport, I would show them a video, say, of a demo that you really love. Watch this, turn the music up, watch this, or find pictures of a kite festival. There's loads on Facebook now. Find pictures of maybe Burke and say, look at that. That's what kites are. It's not just a diamond. It's a whale or a teddy bear or a routine with music. I would show them, picture or video.
So get on YouTube, have some Burke 2016, Burke 2017. I know there's plenty of great videos out there. Okay, good shout. I like that. And Josh, how are you going to bring people into the sport?
The easiest way possible is put a kite in the hand. As soon as you fly a kite, you instantly recognize that it's so much more than this preconceived idea of a diamond kite. Like the first time I flew a kite, I went to a kite festival with my dad, and I was just like, this is kids play this. I'm not interested in this. Then somebody gave me a trick kite to mess around with. I crashed it, but I was like, shit, this is awesome. I need one of these.
Yeah, yeah. So we just touched on Burke a little bit there, and I'm going to build up to that. But what I really want to know is how you run the team to the standard that you do, and how the dynamics are involved, and how you manage that.
We're scared of Josh, basically. No. We all, to organise and agree, we never do anything unless it's unanimous vote. We always all agree on this is what's going to happen, and this is when, because otherwise it becomes miserable, I think.
That is not saying we don't fall out.
So I'm sure there's plenty of discussions, shall we say, arguments.
There are some creative differences between some of the members. Generally, it's my job to sort of mediate, but we're like a family. We do get on well, and I think the biggest hurdle we had to get through was, okay, so what level of discipline are we going to run to? Are we going to put everything in its place in a bag, or are we going to fold the kites away in a certain manner? It's all those little things that make the bigger picture so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing I've been fortunate enough to see you guys fly many times in practice, and I'm guessing that you went for maximum discipline because I've seen the way you set up and the way you break down, and it's always identical, consistent.
There's a set sort of ideas and drills that we have, and we could say to each other like, all right, so what way do the lines go into the winder? And we all know, and it's drilled into our head, and it's to the point where there's almost law behind it. We've got a handbook that we refer to, and there's so much of everything that we just know is the fracture code in a sense, to the point where if you do break the fracture code, fines are put in place, as Dan very well knows.
Excellent. We need to hear more about this. So from the point that, Josh, you decided to create the team, did you immediately have in your mind other members that were going to fill that team out, and how is that developed over the lifetime of Team Fracture?
That is absolutely one of the hardest and greatest questions, because initially Fracture have had quite a few members, and when we started there were 2 other members of the team with us, and we didn't not get along. We've all been really good friends, but the aspirations and the way that the team was running wasn't quite per se with what those guys wanted to do. And that's fine, because if to do what we want to do, you have to be prepared to, almost sometimes lose the fun of what you're doing for the greater good. And we didn't want to take the fun away for those guys. So we've passed a few members. But once we found Harry kind of had the same mental attitude that we did. The first time he came onto the field, he actually walked into a caravan. It's a great story. First time Harry came to fly with us, we were at a festival in, where was it, guys? Remind me.
Cleethorpes,
that's right. And we had the brilliant accommodation of a busted old caravan. It was brilliant. In some travelling site where we didn't know where it was, and we're sitting there at about 10 o'clock at night, stick kites out, bit of beer, waiting for Harry to turn up. And door swings open, there's Harry. I'm like, oh, hi, you must be Harry, great, welcome to the team, blah, 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 here's your clothes. Sits down, picks up a stick kite. And me and Dan just look at each other and go, what the fuck's going on here? This is abnormal. And it was, from that point, it was like, this guy is right for the team. Sorry to be kissing your backside there, Harry, but yeah, you've heard it.
Now, did he have the massive orange lunchbox at the time, or did that did he bring that in as part of his routine?
The lunchbox was there from the start.
I think
I like
you're
it.
referring to the hydration station.
The hydration station. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. Although most recently, I think it seems to have made a disappearance from the field. I think there were technical reasons, or you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, we all got matching bags, and there's now a fine in place for mismatching.
Okay, so you didn't want to cop the fine. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. So there's a great answer from developing the team. Now, once the team is in place, how do you then visualize going to the World Championships and take it from the inception? So you've got your team. Next thing on the list, I'm assuming, has got to be the routine.
Yeah, routine is definitely next. Once you get your team and you have the flyers and it all works, then you need something to fly. And that's the hardest bit, I think. Choosing a piece of music for your routine is the hardest bit, especially with the differences in taste everyone has naturally. So that's many, I think you call them discussions. We'll use that word because it sounds nicer.
Yeah,
but many discussions.
Yes, discussions. Yes.
Many discussions about the right music for the routine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of a team myself, and yes, definitely the first thing that comes up, music. And because it separates everyone's got their own taste. To nail it down, I can imagine, is difficult. Now, at the point that you're picking the music, do you already have the kites in mind, or are the kites yet? The decision on the kites are yet to come.
We were lucky in a sense that we've got a awfully generous bunch of sponsors that have actually just passed this amazing amount of support to us. So before we even had a concept of team colours, or before we were even a team as such, Carl Robert Shaw gifted us a set of Furies that were brilliant for like learning what we want to do. And in the sense of what we were learning on and what felt right for what we were doing, we decided to keep the Fury. And from there, Carl actually came forward and sponsored the team. So the kind of the kite decision followed the form of what we were already working with before any sort of ballet was in mind. But because the Fury is such a good kite, it fixes to what we were doing anyway. So yeah, that was kind of predetermined for us, really.
So the use of the Fury just happened organically, and just as a coincidence managed to fit in with everything else that you wanted to do and achieve.
I wouldn't call it a coincidence. It was a good fix, and the Fury's got a very wide performance. You know, you can do the slow and accurate, or you can do the fast and agile. You know, it's
it's a very popular team kite.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So who's responsible for the routine, or is it a group effort?
In part, it's a group effort. So we all choose the music, and then it's fallen normally to me to write the ballet, to write moves to the music. So I've had just that bit more experience with music, so it's easier for me to write the ballet, and then we all learn it as a team and change it where it's not right. So I get the base idea down, and then if it doesn't work, Josh might come up with a move, or Harry might say, "This is not working for me. What if we did this?" So again, it's a team effort mostly, but with just a kickstart from me.
You gave it a boost because of the experience flying to music, and presumably watching lots of flying to music.
It's not just the flying to music already, but being a musician myself, so playing bands and things. So I already had that ear for the music, as well as watching and knowing how to fly to music as well.
Yeah. So you've got the kites, you've got the team members, you've got the routine. Presumably at this point, it's just practice, practice, practice. Or is there other things in the mix that have to be organised before you get to that stage?
There are 1,001 things that you have to do, and you never actually stop doing things. There's so many little things which teams don't consider well, no, not that teams don't consider, that people don't consider that kite teams do. So much as stuff like we take a lot of focus into our team image. So all of our gear is matched and it's colored specifically, and we've got logos and artwork. We've got some brilliant banners that are just literally fresh off the printer. We also have support from Los Hermanos Show Kites, who have printed us some excellent kite banners, and they are just perfect. But yeah, that's all part of like the consideration of how the team looks and how does that reflect our performance and how does that reflect our psyche. There's a million and one things to consider, so that you never stop evolving what you're thinking about.
Okay, so you've got all your bits coming together. You've got your outfits, you've got the kites, the music. Then it's time to practice. Now, how much practice does it take to develop a potential world championship team?
More. It's the easy answer. You never get enough. There's always something else you can do to make it just that bit better. But as much as you can, pretty much.
So I hate to mention it, we were all destined to be at Berk this year, and sadly it didn't happen. Now, at what point do you decide the training regime prior to the event? At what point does the real knuckling down start, where right guys, we've got 8 months to go, it's going to be this and this until we get there?
2 years ago.
I can believe that.
The simple answer of it was that there was a plan in place from 2 years ago, and we have stuck to a plan of, right, we are going to develop and develop and develop until we've got this point. I'll let Harry explain what his take on that's been, obviously being in the team for only a few months.
Yeah, so from my side, obviously I joined them in September, flew with them at Cleethorpes, broke a few kites, and then for me it really started properly towards, I don't know, sort of end of October, November time. I think we sat down, I think we were a team of 4 back then, and then things changed. So we had a lot of different changes to cope with in that time as well. But no, generally we had a plan in place. We went through our diaries and put loads of weekends in. I think up to now, my flying with the team in terms of training has been something close to 30 days of flying, which sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. It needs to be a lot more. As Dan said, there's never enough. And I gutted that we're not there.
It's gutting, but I'm privileged enough to have actually flown with all 3 of you. I've watched definitely since September and seen how much effort that you boys have actually put in. And for everyone listening, if I can describe it, it's like a machine turning up to the field, whereby you can't even get a word in because they're so fixated on the mission that they are trying to achieve, not just for that day, but for the entire weekend. So look, all I want to say to you boys is, okay, you didn't get there this year, but everyone needs to watch out for next year, because I cannot imagine that there's other people putting in the amount of effort that you guys are. So yeah, good luck to everyone is all I would say. Now, I know Dan, you look like you wanted to say something then, so feel free, chime in.
Yeah, I was going to say our training doesn't stop when we leave the field on a team weekend. We all train individually all week, all through the weeks. Whenever we're not together, we're flying by ourselves. We're stick practicing our ballets to videos that we've watched. You just follow your routine round, which is constantly the training. I think that's where people miss about teams is you don't just stop when you leave. It's when you separate at the end of the weekend. You're always training. We're always training by ourselves. So today I was going over the new ballet, and and we were sticking, and I've been flying in the field by my house, and we're just constantly, never stop, just get every minute you can.
Yes, I've seen it. I can believe it, and watching the progression as well. Even over a short period of time, from Harry in September to Harry at the beginning of the year, how the team has developed is quite phenomenal. And watching everything gel into place is really fantastic to watch. So, let's have a bit of light-heartedness now. I want to hear from each of you your funniest kite story, and we'll stick with the format. We'll go with Harry first of all, if you would be so kind, sir.
So I can imagine the other two are already laughing at this point. Mine is more of an embarrassing story.
No one else can see the chat here, but yeah, I can already see Dan and Josh sort of crumbling. But yeah, carry on.
So mine is more a story of my own incompetence, really. So at the time I lived in Surrey, Dan in Bedford, Josh way up north, and so we all had this plan. We were going to meet at Dan's house, get on the ferry across to Scheveningen in Holland. We all arrived at Dan's just in time. I was a little bit delayed by traffic on the N25, but we made it. And then one of them asked me a ridiculous question of how I got my passport. And of course, the answer was no. It was in the drawer back at home. So we had to come up with a plan quickly, because obviously we're flying the next day in a different country. I grabbed Josh. Dan and his dad carried on as normal, kept to the plan. I had Josh in the passenger seat researching ferries and various other methods of getting across the channel as we bombed it back down towards Surrey. Grabbed the passport, carried on south back to Dover, and yeah, we just about booked the ferry, rolled up to the gate, and it opened, luckily. They told us the next ferry was in about half an hour, so all right, fine, we'll have a little kip and carry on. Pulled up to the queue and actually got a knock on the window about a minute later saying, you know what, guys, there's one leaving now. It's yours if you want it. So we rolled on. They said the bad news is it'll have to be the VIP lounge. So free champagne, free nibbles.
Oh, terrible. What a disaster. Oh, nightmare.
I think we paid about 12 quid extra each, but it got us there earlier, and we had the lounge all to ourselves. It was us, a bottle of champagne, fruit, crisps.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
It was lovely, and no screaming children.
That doesn't sound like incompetence to me. That sounds like, style and panache.
It's a masterstroke, and I think we both agreed that's how we travel from now on.
Absolutely. I do want to know, there must have been perhaps a little bit of driving exactly to the speed limit to get that passport?
Yeah, well, luckily my car's got it's got this adaptive cruise control that takes some of the effort out of it, but occasionally it misreads the sign.
Yeah. I've experienced that same problem, so yeah, I can sympathise with that.
But yeah, no, the good news is we did manage to get there on time. We got there actually quite a lot before Dan. We arrived at about 5 a.m, and we were flying at 9.
If you are about to say what I think you're about to say, you're dead.
But the story's not finished there. We obviously weren't wearing team gear at the time because it was our travelling clothes. And we thought, well, do you know what? Pavement's quiet right now. There's no one around. Let's just get changed on either side of the car, and then we'll have a little sleep, crack on at 9 o'clock. But obviously, as we just got to the stage of trousers down, there was a hotel opposite, and suddenly everyone just appeared. There must have been a party that was kicking out. It was like rush hour. And probably 20, 30 people all walking past us, confused as to why there's two semi-naked men.
Two English gentlemen in Neale together.
Yeah, yeah, just getting changed on the side of the road.
Nice. Yeah, I'd definitely say that is fairly comical there for sure. Yeah, God, I can't imagine. There must have been quite a bit of swearing at the point of realisation of the passport.
There were a couple of words. I would have needed a crowbar to get more in. Yeah.
Fantastic.
But either way, this is part of the reason when we did first meet at Cleethorpes, we all had a group chat of what do we want to get from this, and one of the things we all agreed on was this type of funny story together as a group of friends. And
awesome.
I wasn't expecting it to come quite so quickly.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, thank you for that, Harry. Dan, you got a funny kiting story for us?
Just one story is so hard. There's so many. And also, I think funny stuff that happens at kite festivals is after the kites have gone away.
Yeah.
So you can get to the meal at the end, and it's the argument for who has to pay the extra euro, or someone's lost a bag. But I think my funniest kite stories were, I can't remember where, Kite Fest in England somewhere, and a kite flyer just got a brand new lifter kite, and he put it up, and early in the morning, and as the day went on, the wind got stronger and stronger and stronger. And at the end of the day, we all went home, we all went shower, go and have dinner, and we got back the next day, and this kite was still up. And the fly was sitting there next to it, and he said, I couldn't get it down. And he'd spent all night just sitting there next to his kite because he couldn't get his kite down.
Okay. Yeah, that's fairly comical. I like that one a lot.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine we were all so supportive of him.
Yeah. Him with his forlorn look on his face. Yeah, absolutely. Josh, have you got anything to top that?
Well, my story kind of follows on from Harry's story. There was a few embarrassing factors to that day. So after, standing bollock naked in the middle of the street in front of all the Dutch people, we went to the beach and we attempted to fly kites. Of course, it was plus side of 65 mile an hour. So we're flying, there was 5 flyers. We had 2 guests with us, Chris Goff and Stefan Fears. Both quite competent dual line flyers. And anyway, so we set the Furies up and we're looking around the beach, not a single kite in the air. And we go, right, let's just do it, 500-pound line, maxed out, everything we can do. And the kites go up, and so do we. And we're pulled forward about 50 meters. All right, we hadn't done a follow at this point. We're sitting at the top of the window and we're crawling back on my football boots. And anyway, we go for another 10 minutes and we're all in quite a lot of pain. And the one thing that's renowned from kite teams in the past is that they would all indulge in some, let's call them herbal remedies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now, Fracture are a very interesting team where we don't do any of that. But I remember the phrase this day that we used was, right, we need to go and take our drugs. And we got some funny looks, and we didn't realize that actually something that meant something so simple to us sounded so sinister to everyone else. So we sneak away to our bags, and we all get out ibuprofen. And that's the team standard, is that our drug is ibuprofen because we are all crippled every time we fly kites.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so you go on.
We took our ibuprofen, and luckily, while we were flying, Dan's dad went off to McDonald's to get us lunch. And being a Geordie lad as I am, I don't do well with what I will call other food cultures.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So there's a very good standing joke by Dan, because he seems to think it's hilarious, that I got deli belly from a burger in a Dutch McDonald's. So obviously it was quite a rough day on the beach and my deli belly had set in. I wasn't feeling too good. And we all decided we're going to go back to the campsite for a rest and some beers. And Dan had his dad's van with him and Harry was parked in another car park. So I says to Harry, I says, right, I'll help Dan with the kite bags up to the van.
Oh, no, I know what this is now.
Yeah. And we walked up to the van and put the stuff in the van, and Dan had a go at me about something about the team. We're always having squabbles, but it's always love. And anyway, so I walk away, and I'm in a bit of a bad mood because, I'm not feeling too well, and Dan's just had a pop at us. And so I walk up to this Audi, get in, I'm looking out the window, and I'm going, You never guess what that little bastard's just said to me. I could fucking kill him. Turned to her, and it wasn't Harry's Audi. And this Dutch guy sitting there absolutely petrified. So, to make matters worse, I didn't apologise. I looked terrified, got out the car, and ran away. It was a very interesting trip.
If in doubt, run away. Great.
That was a hilarious trip. There's a couple other stories as well, but I won't waste your time with them just yet.
We can keep those for the next time. I have to say they're all three absolute pearlers. So we'll you've been kind enough. We've been going nearly an hour. So what I would like from you is to know, if you weren't flying kites, like if kiting was not in your world, what would you be doing instead?
Well, of course, I'd be a Formula One driver.
Yes.
Minus the talent and age.
So you're a motorsport fan?
Yeah, big fan. Started racing when I was about 12, and it's just sort of dipped away since then. It got more and more expensive as I got more and more poor. So yeah, we missed out on that opportunity. But yeah, I still try and dip my toe in every now and then. It's just hilarious to do 60 miles an hour an inch off the ground. It feels like you're an F1 driver.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm a bit of a petrol head myself, as you well know. So yeah, no, that's a good one. I like that. Dan, if you were, I mean, I hate to even say it to you. I don't even know if you can comprehend a life without kites. But I know music is a big part of your life. So are we going down the music route?
We'd probably go down the music route. It's hard for me to say. I've never not had kites in my life, but I'd probably be trumpet player. So I'd try to be anyway. So I'll probably be a bit better at the trumpet and in some more semi-professional orchestras, hopefully, playing more trumpet and not flying kites. It's so weird to think about. Never not had to think about that.
I know. It's terrible. But when it's not real. It's not real. It's just theoretical. So don't have nightmares tonight. Okay. Josh, if there were no kites in your world, God forbid, what would you be doing?
I honestly don't know. I think I'd probably be sitting, doing very little, crying a lot of the time. No, I think I would absolutely be traveling the world, tasting foreign cuisines.
And drinking Red Bull.
And drinking Red Bull, yes.
And getting rid of them quickly.
Yeah.
I do wonder how much the Delhi Belly is down to your Red Bull intake.
Not at all. It can't be.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Okay, so, well, I think that just about wraps it up. It's been an absolute pleasure to talking to all three of you. I want a massive thanks for coming on and giving us some time.
Before we split, I think it would be appropriate if we could use this time to say thank you to our other supporters, because we do have so many.
Please do. Anyone you want to shout out to, say thank you to, this is your platform. Go for it.
John and Marianne at Sky Shark, you guys have been brilliant for us. Mr. Kipling, perfect sponsor to have. Also, Laser Pro Gold Kite Lines. I've already mentioned Carl Robert Shaw, Los Hermanos Show Kites. The list goes on. We've got so many great supporters, and we are grateful to all of you guys.
I think Mr. and Mrs. Hoath also require,
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Mrs. Hoath is one of the best cooks around.
Josh is getting the most informed one. All of our quad kites are made by Kite Tech, and our clothes are printed by one Mitcheson as well. So I think it's very important we say thank you to him as a team, to Kite Tech, for our quad kites.
That's nice. That's very nice.
You're more than welcome.
Harry, you have any shout outs?
I think we've pretty much covered everyone. Thank you to yourself, Matt, and everyone else who turns out at Dunstable every weekend.
Yeah,
Well, it's a massive morale boost when you're cold and wet and grumpy to turn and watch someone else fly a kite for a couple of minutes. It's
badly, and make yourself feel better about yourself. I'm happy to be that person. It's a great pleasure.
Not at all what I meant, but take it how you will. It's just good to have the people around us and your kind words as always.
Well, your kiting family is very much looking forward to seeing you all at your local hangout at the very earliest opportunity. I will be there for sure with bells on, let's hope that it's very, very soon.
Fingers crossed.
Guys, Dan, Josh, Harry, thank you very, very much for your time, and everyone listening, thank you. It's nice to know there's people out there listening, and if you've got any comments or you want to give us any feedback, then you've got the Facebook page and Instagram, so come and see us over there. Thank you very much.